In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we have got so much to talk about. Big breaking Bears news, all kinds of Cubs and White Sox trades. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford IceHogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford IceHogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is not going on right now, but that shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com, getting yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, wow. So I was doing some work, getting ready for the pod, and then I sat down. I'm like, I'm going to watch some of the Giants Hard Knocks. And then you're like, hey, did you see the breaking news? And here we are.
Yeah, and this news broke about, 20 minutes ago, and I was kind of getting ready for the show. I got home from work, I ate dinner, and I'm scrolling through, because it was trade deadline day. The Cubs barely did squat, and they suck, and they're getting killed right now, and the White Sox are a joke. So I'm just kind of scrolling through it, whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, Adam Schefter comes. DJ Moore is going to be a Bear for the next several years. And we don't have to worry now about how long he's going to be here because he's going to be here through his best years. DJ Moore just signed an extension with the Bears. Ryan Poles locked him up a few months after he locked Jalen Johnson up. So Ryan Poles is getting these extensions done. And that is big news as we're in the middle of camp.
Yeah, so it's a 4-year, $110 million extension with $82.6 million in guaranteed money. And he'll be under contract through the 2029 season. So
I dig it.
We've got him for one more year on this contract. And then, so we got five years. So that is, would put him at, for Keenan Allen, roughly Keenan Allen's age. So yeah, we'll get him through his best years.
So put this in perspective for a minute, just really, really quickly. Having DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Cole Kmet locked down for the life of Caleb Williams' rookie deal, not counting the fifth-year option. This was tweeted by Aaron Lemming. How about that?
That's awesome. That's huge.
Very huge. I mean, Ryan Poles really orchestrated this well. It all came together, just aligned very, very well, roster-wise. I mean, because you have an experienced wide receiver throughout his rookie deal. You have the guy you drafted just a few picks after him, who he's going to grow and learn with and is building this relationship with this very promising player in Rome Odunze. And then this year, you get Keenan Allen with that. And I don't know how long Keenan Allen's going to be here. It may just be the 1 year, but man, you at least know that Odunze and Moore are going to be your 1-2 punch going forward. That makes things a lot easier as you move on, as you do other things, because you know you're going to have those top two guys.
Yep. That's incredible news, and it gives you that flexibility that once you have to pay Caleb Williams, you're not bogged down by other contracts of aging players.
So, I mean, you could almost look at this as you're entering your window, and this year's not your prime window year because one, you have a rookie quarterback. Two, I don't think the team is still quite complete yet. But you're at least entering a year where you expect to at least compete. They're not going to be favored to win the division. I don't think they are. Not favored to win a Super Bowl. Don't think they are. You're kind of at the borderline of a playoff team. But if you're a borderline playoff team that's in the race throughout the year and you're seeing your quarterback grow and you're seeing your defense play, then that's where you realistically can look at yourselves. Because I think by 2025, you need to be looking at that as a year where you're Super Bowl favorites, or at least among the Super Bowl favorites. You're never going to be the number one favorite, but you got to be in that mix. Right now, I think the Bears are in that mix to contend for a playoff spot, but you want to be by year two of Caleb Williams to be legitimately in a spot to contend for a postseason run. Because keep this in mind too, your defense is built to win right now for the most part. Could you put more in the front seven? Sure. But, you got Montez Sweat in his prime. You got Jalen Johnson in his prime. You got Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon kind of entering their primes. Because what do you and I both know is that windows in the NFL are sacred and they're not very long unless you have a Pat Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type of quarterback. And
Right.
we don't know how long Caleb Williams, or I should say how good Caleb Williams is going to be yet. So you're moving into your window now, even if you're not in the prime of it, but you're moving into your window now because you got these guys locked down.
Yeah, and I want to step back to a point that you made that is really good. Is with these rookie contracts with young quarterbacks, it's important to capitalize on that. And what happens is, if you in that big money contract, you can totally continue to win if you've got a Pat Mahomes, a Tom Brady, an Aaron Rodgers, um, Joe Burrow with these huge contracts because they make other people around them better. But when you're paying a Dak Prescott or a Daniel Jones, these big money, that's you need the supporting cast around them, which you have to pay because they don't make the team better. And so you get yourself stuck. And so the Bears should start to be in contention during this window with Caleb Williams
At least that's
and the
the
rookie.
goal.
That's the goal in this rookie window. And the hope is that he's a transcendent player, that when you do pay him stupid amounts of money after that, that you're still going to be in a contention window because he's so good that you don't have to have a stud tight end and two stud wide receivers and all of these players around him. He's helping to make everybody else better with his abilities on the field.
And keep this in mind too, is even if Caleb Williams is good, like I'm just talking good. I'm not talking Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow level. I'm talking like even if he's regular season Dak Prescott good, or statistically around where you see Kirk Cousins, where maybe you don't have the reputation of winning the big game, but you're throwing 4K yards and 30 touchdown passes. If that's what Caleb Williams is doing, guess what? When that time comes where he needs to get paid, we're seeing what quarterbacks are getting paid right now.
Yeah.
Think about what he could potentially get by then.
Yep. Unless they come up with these new rules where there's a cap on quarterback salaries, or either dollar amount or percent of cap, etc.
Even if there is a cap, it's going to be a lot.
Oh, it's absolutely going to be a whole lot.
And I just don't know, would the Players Association go for that kind of thing?
I don't know, but the quarterback salary is going to be a weird position for the Players Association, because there's a salary cap and that's not going away.
Right.
And if you keep having your quarterback make more and more and a bigger chunk of it, that takes money away from other players because you're stuck in that cap. So you can't pay. So so as a the union, are you representing quarterbacks? Or are you representing all players? And your goal should be to want to see all the players get paid. And
Correct.
if you don't put some sort of governor on the this the amount of money that quarterbacks make, that takes food out of running backs' mouths. So it's a weird position for them because they can't be on the side of everybody, period. They just can't with the quarterback salary discussion. And it's not saying that the quarterbacks don't deserve to get paid or paid a lot of money, because it's the most important position in the biggest sport in the United States. But you, at some point, is if you're paying all the money to the quarterback, what do you have left?
Well, yeah, and I mean, think about this too, is it's not just the quarterback position either. Look at what the wide receivers are making. Obviously, DJ Moore just got this extension, but man, think about like Justin Jefferson and what Amon-Ra St. Brown just recently got in extensions. I mean, they're getting paid a shit ton of money too.
Everybody's going to get paid a lot of money because the salary cap is high. But
But I mean, I'm talking like especially these positions.
yeah, it's running backs are going to be the ones that are hurting. Even though they bounced back somewhat this year, I think you're going to continue to see them make less and less.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was a very unique market this year in the running back position.
Yeah. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have to rely on 1-year contracts and lots of rookies to make up to fit into that salary cap.
Right.
So that's where it's going to hurt, is the veterans that are at the end of their prime or just outside their prime. Those are the guys that, SOL should have capitalized more in your prime.
Sure. Yeah. That's kind of the game you play in football, especially when you look at certain positions. Like, this year was a very unique year for the running back market. You saw running backs get paid in free agency and you saw them get traded. Where how often do we say, oh, the running back ran out on his rookie deal? Okay, draft another one. Because, for that reason to say, hey, these positions are more expendable now, and we can just easily replace that in the draft on a rookie deal. Obviously, again, this year, it was unique. It was unique.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how we've typically looked at it for a while, right?
Right.
For the most part. I mean, there were exceptions. You still have your premier running backs in the game, but, the middle, low tier, even some of the upper tier, you can get away with saying, okay, like, I mean, Dave Montgomery, he's good. And he's really good in Detroit because he's well set up there. But he's a guy where the Bears were comfortable saying, hey, you played well for us, but we're going to go another route. And they did. So that was just a common theme of what you saw in many other markets in the past. Whereas, with wide receivers, these top dogs are getting paid, and they have been getting paid consistently.
Yep. But going back to the Bears, you've got DJ Moore now locked up, and you've also seen Ryan Poles start to cook here. Did you see the news about Torrey Taylor, our new punter?
I did see that, yes.
So Ryan Poles was able to get a roster spot exemption because he's a foreign player, and the NFL has wanted to promote foreign players in the NFL. So they have gotten an exemption, so he doesn't count as a roster spot. You get another player in there, which is huge. Which is one extra player is really huge. So that was really smart on his part, and it was, I didn't even think about that, but Ryan Poles is starting to cook here. We've seen him make some mistakes, but boy, he's got a plan.
He does. There's a plan, there's a vision. It's becoming more clear now. You know, the extensions came at the right time because having DJ Moore locked up now, that's one less conversation you got to have over Caleb Williams' rookie year. That's one big thing that you just got out of the way.
Right. And I know the other contract talk that's come up is Tevin Jenkins. And the Bears told him that, and his people, that they're not willing to have that conversation until they have their bye week. Would be the first time they'd be willing to talk about it. And to me, that just clearly says we want you here, but you got to prove you're healthy. And the health has always been. It's never been the talent. It's been the health, because he has not played a full season yet, and he's on the last year of his rookie deal, so fourth year in the league, and we haven't seen a fully healthy season. And that's when he's playing and he's healthy. I think Pro Football Focus last year had him as one of like the sixth best guard in the NFL, eighth best. He was up there. So he grades out really well, and but he's just got to stay healthy. He just gets these stupid injuries. You're like, how do they keep popping up? It started when he was drafted and he had a back injury, and then it just goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Tevin Jenkins, but I would not be really surprised if they decided to not go that route. I really wouldn't be. It's hard to guarantee a lot of money to a guy who hasn't played one full season.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they moved on from him. And that's not, again, nothing to do with play. It's just, even if he plays a full season this year, that doesn't mean next year he's going to play a full season, or the
Right.
year after that, or any other year. That's the thing. And um, I
Plus,
think
when you have back issues as a lineman, that's got to be really, really just really tough.
I just, I mean, at least if you see him through the bye week, you get a better sense of where he's at, because he's talked extensively about how after last season he's really started to change his off-season routine, both the way he works out, the way he takes care of his body, his nutrition, um, to try to stay healthy. I think he recognizes where he's at.
And I really hope he does. Because, like I said, when he plays, it's a difference maker. He is a difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, we've got that same situation on the other side with Nate Davis. Nate Davis is currently injured, and I don't know the extent of said injury, but it does not appear that the Bears are wavering in their support of him being the starting right guard. Um, and, last year I know we dogged him around this time because he wasn't there. We found out later why. So I want to just be hesitant, because you don't know, but he did have injuries as well last year. And the guy doesn't seem like he likes to practice. And as an offensive line, in the NFL, you just need to put in that work. Um, so I hope he plays well, but
It's getting harder and harder for me to believe that he's going to make a big impact.
right. Um, so did you see there is an unofficial uh, depth chart for the Bears right at this point?
I didn't, but I would love to take a look.
Sure. So the way they have this is two wide receivers. Um, so it's DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. No surprise there. Behind DJ Moore is Tyler Scott.
Who's having a very nice camp.
Yeah. Behind Keenan Allen is Roma Dunze. Behind Roma Dunze is Velus Jones Jr. Behind Tyler Scott is DeAndre Carter. And on the outside, assuming they keep six wide receivers, on the outside looking in is Colin Johnson, and Dante Pettis. So nothing terribly surprising there.
No, and I almost want to say Dante Pettis right now might have the upper hand considering he's been here before,
I don't
but
think
you never know.
I don't think either one. I think if based on this, the six wide receivers will be DJ Moore, Tyler Scott, DeAndre Carter, who is listed as punt returner one, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, and Velus Jones Jr., who's listed as kick returner number one. So
I guess yeah, I mean, okay, Velus Jones, I don't know. I don't know, but
he's
I don't
listed
know.
as kick returner one and punt returner two.
I feel like, I feel like Velus Jones, this is just my opinion. I feel like if you were to compare him to Dante Pettis, and maybe you disagree, I feel like Velus Jones has a higher ceiling, but I feel like Dante Pettis might be a little safer. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I hear what you're saying. Um, I mean, I think it's very, very easy to say that, like that. These games in the preseason and this training camp will say a lot about where Velus Jones is at. Because if he starts dropping passes or not working hard or his kick returns aren't there, you've got a Dante Pettis who, is the floor, the ceiling. Are the floor the floor isn't incredibly high, and neither is the ceiling, but you know where it is. Um, Velus Jones' floor is pretty low, but his ceiling is theoretically decently high. It's much higher than Dante Pettis's,
Right,
but
I agree.
his floor is also significantly lower than Dante Pettis's.
Yeah, and maybe I was wrong in saying Pettis has the upper hand because he probably doesn't, but I just feel like it's shit or get off the pot with Velus Jones. I really do.
This if he is not significantly better, either as an elite kickoff guy or as a real contributor on the offense, or preferably both. This is going to be his last year. I would say.
Yeah, because this is what his third year.
Yeah. I don't think they would keep him for that fourth year. I think they would just churn. Um, but I think they really, really hope that based on these new kickoff rules, which could be exciting. Um, I think the type of player he is could really do something good. I think they made a mistake in not bringing Cordero Patterson back, because I think Cordero Patterson is just going to look elite. I
Oh,
mean,
I
he's
know.
with these new kickoff rules and Cordero Patterson, bro,
Yeah.
like that guy is going to look like in prime Devin Hester. And he already looked good, but these new kickoff rules where he's just got to break one line of defenders.
I know. Well, as soon as those rules change, I'm like, man, the first thing I thought is if we still had him.
Yep.
But alas, we do not.
Let's see. Left tackle Braxton Jones, followed by Larry Borum, followed by Karan Amagaji, who is still injured. Um, but he is listed third string right now. Left guard, it is Tevin Jenkins. Second string is Jatir Carter, and then Jerome Carvin. Center says Ryan Bates or Coleman Shelton. So that is still an open competition with Doug Kramer as the third string. Right guard is Nate Davis, followed by Matt Pryor and Bill Murray, then Theo Benedette, who was a priority unrestricted rookie free agent from
So
Canada.
so that the third guard position. Is he going to be a Ghostbuster? Is he going to play with the Toon Squad? Um,
He's going to be a champion bowler.
okay.
But what's funny is I've heard multiple people when they ask who's the funniest guy in the locker room, and multiple people have said Bill Murray.
That's funny.
Hopefully, he went and had lessons with Bill Murray on comedy. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. And you know what would be really funny? If Bill Murray makes the team, they need to bring Bill Murray to the opening game to shake hands with Bill Murray. Because you know
Oh,
Bill Murray would do it.
oh yeah. And then behind Bill Murray is Theo Benedette, the rookie out of Canada, who I think has like a high ceiling. He's just pretty raw and he's got a lot of work to do. I think he's prime for practice squad.
But is he Dan Aykroyd?
He is not.
Hmm.
That'd be cool if he was.
If only.
Right tackle, Darnell Wright, then Jake Curran and Aviante Collins. So not a ton of surprises. Um, the interesting thing, I didn't know Coleman Shelton is a left-handed snapper. So going from Ryan Bates to Coleman Shelton, you're switching off between left and right-handed snappers to a rookie quarterback who didn't take a didn't take a whole lot of snaps under center, which is interesting.
I just, I tweeted this the other day. I really, really just wish they took that position more seriously. I really, if there's one area of the Bears I really don't like, it's how they're handling this.
I, I hear
It
what you're
just
saying.
worries me.
I hear what you're saying. The Bears have been incredibly high on Ryan Bates. Coleman Shelton has started a lot of games at center in this league. So either way, they should be in a much better place than they've been the last few years.
Yeah,
I
I mean, Cody Whitehair who was just not a center, really struggled last year, but got a rookie quarterback now. I just wish it was better.
Yeah, I hope that somebody rises to the top quickly because I want that person to be working with Caleb Williams just regularly. Let's see, tight end, not a surprise here. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, and then Steven Carlson. Quarterback Caleb Williams, and then it is a toss up for the backup spot between Tyson Bagent and Brett Rippon. So they are going to have that be an open competition.
So, so I think that with this quarterback competition, there needs to be another town hall on the radio, and we got to debate Brett Rippon or Tyson Bagent as QB2. Why
Well, Tyson,
debate Caleb Williams and Justin Fields when you can debate this?
Tyson Bagent was grinding his face off this offseason.
That's true. That's true. And boy, though, I see the workouts that he does. I'm like, dude, good for you. There is no way in hell I'd be able to do that.
I get out of breath just hearing him talk about it.
I know. I mean, if you look at him, he's a physical specimen. He is insanely strong. And his dad, I think we talked about this, was like a competitive arm wrestler.
Not a competitive arm wrestler, arguably the greatest arm wrestler of all time.
That's amazing.
If he's not he is one of the top three. Like his dad is ridiculous. There used to be a arm wrestling TV show on I think AMC or one of those stations. And
It wasn't ESPN The Ocho.
no, it was like they tried to make it like a reality show, and it was called like Game of Arms. So they took like teams based on the city where you lived or the state you were from, and they would get like these arm wrestlers, and you would go to another city and you would compete. And uh and Tyson Bagent's dad Travis was like the dude on the show that kicked everyone's ass.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's like a shit talker, and Now he teaches like how to be a good arm wrestler. Like he's ridiculous. You just watch him go, and he'll have this guy who's got these giant arms, like a huge man, and he'll let him go like till he's like an inch above, putting him down, and then he'll just with no effort, just boom, he won. Just it's insane watching this guy arm wrestle. And he raised Tyson Bagent to be a grinder, a hard worker. And, you know, I I don't see, assuming health, I don't see a way Tyson Bagent doesn't win this backup job.
Yeah, I don't either. I truly, I
Mark
truly don't either.
uh I'm sorry, Mark Rippon, stat. Brett Rippon, um, he was brought in to be a veteran, to help be the more mature voice that, he's somewhere between a coach and a younger player. He's an elder statesman in that quarterback room. He's like that translator. Um, and that's
Tyson Bagent, I'm gonna grind my face off and do everything.
yeah,
Translation: He is going to work very, very hard.
yeah. It's it's that's what you need in a quarterback room. You got that, you know, most of the time it's the backup. The backup is that guy, but just having that third string guy in there, because Caleb Williams is a young rookie. Tyson Bagent is in his second year, and then Austin Reed is your number 4, who is another rookie. So you have 2 rookies, a second year player, and then Brett Rippon, who's not that old, is like your elder statesman. So like that's, just make him your third string, and even the practice squad guy, because nobody's taking him off your practice squad. And and then get your uh and then get your um while we're talking, there's just a fire truck with its lights on sitting outside my house.
Have you checked to make sure your house isn't on fire?
No, they're looking somewhere across the street, so I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, yeah, if nobody's taking Brett Rippon off your practice squad, I I think there is a chance somebody might take uh Tyson Bagent off your practice squad. I don't think it's terribly high, but I think it's a reasonable enough possibility that if you don't want to lose him, you don't want to keep 3 quarterbacks. I don't think is you put Brett Rippon as your number 3, your emergency quarterback. Put him on the practice squad. Nobody's taking him, and he gets to be in all those meeting rooms. I think that's the smart way to go. That's just me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's more than fair.
Kari Blossom game is the only fullback, so he's number 1.
Still, I feel like he's going to be our fullback for eternity.
I just wonder if we're going to keep a fullback. We'll see how this goes.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Running back, DeAndre Swift is your number 1. And then it is a competition for number 2 between Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson. And then Travis Homer and Ian Wheeler are your number, up there for competing for number 4. On defense, where you start to see a little bit of got me surprised a little bit. So the starting defensive line, your starters, just that was no brainer. It's Montez Sweat, Andrew Billings, Jervon Dexter, Demarcus Walker, TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson. That was about as gimme as you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But Dominique Robinson still listed as the number 2 edge rusher behind Montez Sweat.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. However, I do think there are some eyes on Austin Booker, right?
You know, I have not been to training camp yet. My tickets are for a couple weeks from now. But what I've heard from Austin Booker, He's shown a lot of flashes, but he's shown a lot of need for growth. So it makes me the flashes make me happy for his future here, but I wonder if he's going to be a situational guy. I don't think you can put him on practice squad. Um, so it's a numbers game. So I would assume he's going to make it unless somebody absolutely just blows them away that's ahead of him. But behind DeMarcus Walker, you have Jacob Martin, Daniel Hardy, and Khalid Kareem. Uh, so I'm just hoping Dominique Robinson takes that big step up finally.
Yeah, I mean, he showed promise in that opening game in his rookie year against the 49ers in that monsoon, but since then, you kind of forget that he's on the team.
I have heard DeMarcus Walker is looking much, much better.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that too, and hopefully that translates to the regular season.
I heard him talk, and he said he was at best at any point last year 75%. So if he plays well, I still would like somebody more veteran to come in and have be that third rotational pass rusher. So you're not having, but nobody's jumping up to sign uh uh Ngakwe.
No, because he worked out with the Carolina Panthers and they ended up signing somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. So nobody's jumped on him yet, and it gives you more time to see what Austin Booker and Dominique Robinson look like in the preseason. And if they show that, hey, you trust them, then that saves you some money. But I, the it's not the starters on defense I'm worried about. It's the depth.
I
Uh,
agree.
the edge rusher depth is your interior offensive or defensive lineman depth is so after Andrew Billings, you have Zach Pickens and Michael Dwumfor. And behind Jervon Dexter, you have Byron Cowart and Keith Randolph Jr. and Deshaun Mallory. I liked Keith Randolph, but I think he's got a long way to go before he's a real contributor. So I'm not in love with that depth there. The surprising is you look at linebackers. Noah Sewell, who was a Bears draft pick last year, is listed as third string. So TJ Edwards, then Amin Abgan Bamiga is second string, then Noah Sewell. And behind Tremaine Edmonds, it's Jack Sanborn and Micah Baskerville. So Noah Sewell's going to have to work his butt off to make this roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other position that the depth worries me is your safeties. So behind Jaquan Brisker, you've got Elijah Hicks and Tavarius Moore. Behind Kevin Byard, you've got Jonathan Owens and Adrian Colbert. Don't love that. Behind Kyler Gordon, you have Greg Stroman Jr. and Josh Blackwell, who I like both of those guys. I think they both good players. Behind Tyreek Stevenson, you have Terrell Smith, who showed he can play last year, and Leon Jones. And behind Jalen Johnson, you have Jalen Jones, who's another player I like. So I don't love the depth on this team. If everyone were to stay healthy, which doesn't happen in the NFL season, I don't think this is a terrible team.
No, it's not. I wouldn't call it a Super Bowl team or a big time contending team, but you have enough, in my opinion, against the schedule you have to win some games. Whether that's 8, 9, or 10, it remains to be seen. But, like I said last year, what you kind of established is that if you're going based on last year, is you were no longer a bottom feeder. You were at the beginning of the year because you were ill prepared and you just played like absolute dog shit. It was embarrassing and a joke. But as things kind of started to gel a bit more on defense, you bring in Montez Sweat and you see kind of what some of the other guys can do, like how DJ Moore balled out and Cole Kmet taking a step forward. When you put that all together, you're like, okay, when you played teams like the Falcons with Tyler Heineke, obviously the Panthers or the Cardinals, you're like, okay, we can beat those teams. We're better than them. And I mean, shit, man, you were three historic losses away from winning 10 games. I mean,
Right.
that's you if you don't see Tyler Scott slow up on a Justin Fields pass against Detroit and he keeps running that route, you beat them. You go 2-0 against the eventual division champs and the team that made it to the NFC Championship. If you don't have Darnell Mooney blocking on a fourth down run for Justin Fields, you beat the playoff bound Browns. I mean, even if you blew that game early against the Broncos, you could have won 9 games and had a shot at that final wild card. The issue is, though, is one, you got to finish those games, and two, you got to beat better teams more consistently. I mean, the signature win last year was against the Lions, but Green Bay still owned you in both games.
Right.
And we saw what the Chiefs did to them. And listen, we could talk about how close they were against the Browns. You lost. At the end of the day, you lost. And you beat bad teams. So it's a sign that they're more competitive. And I mean, I'll give this too is the Bears were technically the worst team in football in 2022 by design. They stripped it down. I'll give them the fact that they were pretty competitive in a lot of those losses against some good teams. They could have beaten the Dolphins. They had an opening to beat the Eagles. They were in the game against the Bills until the fourth quarter. They play competitive under Matt Eberflus. It's the question is, can they reach the level of actually being good? Because playing competitive and beating low tier teams is one thing, but you got to take the next step. And that's what we have yet to see. We don't want to be a middling team anymore. We don't want to say, hey, we won 8 games. We were competitive technically. You got to be better than that. You got to beat the good teams. You got to go out there and you got to show, especially in this division where this division is scary good. Because, oh boy, the Lions, people saying, oh, the Lions last year, blah, blah, blah. I think they're going to be better this year. That team is scary. So you got to go out there and prove you can beat those guys. It's a lot to prove.
Right. And most of the reports out of camp, defense apparently just looked great. Just flat out looked great.
They're playing hard too. Did you hear about Montez Sweat being pulled aside saying like, hey, don't hit our quarterback like that?
Yeah, he got kicked out of the drill.
That guy's hungry, wants to eat.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I was taught to finish the play. And so that defense is playing hard and playing well. And the offense has been up and down. And I know, there's a lot of things to consider. You got a rookie quarterback who's learning a brand new playbook. You've got a whole new offense because you've got a new offensive coordinator. That it takes time to, and you've got an offensive line that's has not played with this group much at all, if any. So it's going to take some time, and I've heard that it's mostly been penalties and things like that. But I think, from the plays I've seen, you've seen some absolutely brilliant throws and some awesome wide receiver play. I just think that playing against this really good defense is going to do a lot of good for Caleb Williams and this offense.
Yeah, did you see the throw this morning
Yeah,
to Roma Dunze?
Yeah.
Got in between the defenders, it was beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, he's had so many just chef's kiss throws
And you know what? A lot of struggles too, which
Yeah,
is expected.
yeah. And the only bummer is we're not going to see him in the Hall of Fame game.
No, I wanted to talk about the Hall of Fame game coming up, because people have been talking about the Bears and Caleb Williams and how they're going to play and how they're going to practice. And, they were making some points on the radio driving home, talking about, well, you could play Caleb Williams, but not have him do anything more than hand the ball off. Or you could say, okay, he hands the ball off. He's getting it's still acclimation with the team. You're still getting reps in that are important, but you're not risking him too much. And I get both points. I do. I think what I could say is what you said last week or whenever it was about them just needing to play in the preseason. You're absolutely right. The regulars have to play in the preseason. Caleb Williams must play in the preseason. He's a rookie. He's learning. It's so important for him to do so. Um, am I going to put my stock into whether he plays the Hall of Fame game or not? Not necessarily, because the Hall of Fame game is an added on game. It's not one of your three preseason games. And what I do want to know is the Texans aren't playing any of their regulars. I assume you've heard that, right?
Yeah, but Caleb Williams is not going to play.
Well, right. So what I'm saying is, did both teams come together and say, hey, we're not playing our regulars. You don't want to play your regulars. Do we just not want to do that?
I mean, that's a possibility. It's just an early game. I'm fine with that. The rest of the preseason, Caleb Williams better be playing
Yes.
because
And I think he
he
will be.
he needs it. He needs it, and uh, you need to have these guys get snaps and get real live action, and that offensive line needs to be playing and getting pads on pads. It's the only way to get into shape and get ready for football is pads on pads.
Right. And there's going to be those games in preseason where you're going to see Caleb Williams play a little more than I think other games, but I think they have a number of reps that he's going to get in total. So it's not going to be proportionate, is what I'm trying to say.
No, but you know what is we should see him play like other oh, excuse me, man. We should see him play this similar level to other starters in the league. That's what I want to see. I want to see the Bears starters. I don't want to be one drive, that's it, done. One drive. I
Right.
want to see them. I want to see them play a half. I want to see them play, a quarter in the first game and a half for the next one. I want them to be ready. I don't want week one to come out against the Titans and just be flat because I don't think the Titans are very good, but the
You
NFL
got to
has
respect every opponent in the NFL, no matter who it is.
yeah, the NFL has so much parity that any team can beat any team, and um and if you are not prepared and ready to play, that Titans game is going to come back and haunt you at the end of the season. You're going to look back at that game and go, man, if we would have beat the Titans, we'd be in the playoffs right now, or whatever it is. Like we're going to regret it. So you got to go out there and you got to, it's a blessing and a curse to have an easy schedule to start your season. The blessing is, hey, stack those wins up for when it gets hard. And then the hope is that you're playing your best and you're in a groove and you've found your rhythm and you've got your offense put together for when those tough teams come, that you're better prepared to play against them. On the flip side, you're like, you know what? If we're going to lose to Green Bay, I'd rather lose to them week one and get it out of the way and then have us be in rhythm when we're playing, the Titans and the Vikings, the teams that, we have a better shot at beating, be in the the driver's seat for those. So you just got to take advantage. got an easy schedule to start the season. Easy, you don't start your division play until late. Get in the rhythm early. Be ready to come out week 1 and look good. It's not only good for you, it sets the tone for how the media talks about you for the rest of the season. And I know every coach and every GM and every player would tell you they don't care what the national media says, but let the national media say something bad about them. They all know about it and they all talk about it. Well, I know that they said X, Y, and Z, and I don't care. Like, clearly you know about it. So you know what they say about you. You are paying attention. Is if you start the season hot, they're going to build you up. They build you up. You start believing in yourself. The minute that you're 3-0, they start the conversation. Who of the 3-0 teams are contenders and who are pretenders?
Right.
It means something. It absolutely means something. It absolutely means something to the fans, but it means something to those players and those coaches in that building. They'll tell you otherwise. They know what everybody says about them.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, somewhat related, somewhat unrelated. Did you hear what Byard said today about Caleb Williams in the locker room?
Was this about the telling everybody to clean up after themselves?
Yes.
I'm glad you said that. I mental note. I was reading about that on my commute home from work on the L, and I was like, I want to talk about that, and I forgot. So I'm glad you brought that up. Um, so was that Kevin Byard? I didn't hear who
Yes, I
said.
believe it was. Yeah, he was on with Mully and Haw. They were out at Lake Forest, so he was telling them on the radio.
Yeah, so he was talking about how, he being Caleb Williams came in and said, "Listen, we all use the hot tub, we all use the cold tub, we all are using this area," and he's like, "It's a mess. People leaving water bottles and trash." And he's like, "The custodial staff has to come in here and work really hard to try to clean up after us. Let's all be adults and professionals and clean up after ourselves." And I think for a player that's never actually taken an NFL snap to come in and tell veterans to clean up after themselves, to conduct themselves like professionals, that's huge. I think it's huge.
For sure. I mean, the fact that a veteran All-Pro went on the radio and said that, it's not nothing. Because, you'll see, oh, why are you reporting that? That's not news. That was a veteran player coming out and telling you that.
It's there's been, Mitch Trubisky at points showed he had talent on the field, flashes of talent. But did you ever believe in him as a leader? And the stories that came out about how he made people turn TVs off in the building because he didn't want to see bad things said about him. Things like that, just that's why the quarterback position is so hard to be a master of in the NFL, and it's so hard to figure out who's going to translate from college to the pros, because it's not just your physical abilities, it's not just how you throw the ball. There's so much of personality and mental ability that goes into it that you can't measure. And I think the fact that he carries and conducts himself with so much confidence, but not in a braggadocious way, in a just like he believes in himself, and he knows who he is, and he's going to conduct his business as best he knows how, and regardless of what you think. When he says, "I don't care what you say," I believe him, because I've seen when he does care, and I've seen him go after Twitter trolls because I got time today, and and he just goes off. And and then there's other times he just brushes it off. Don't care. I paint my fingernails. Look at this. I put in you. Like, I don't care. Look at my pink phone case. I don't care. Like, I believe him. I believe him when he says he doesn't care. And when he's talking to veterans and he's so And it's not like he practiced in the mirror being confident, and that's just who he is. He exudes that, and it's going to help him on the field.
Yep. Well said.
I don't know what kind of player he's going to be, but I've seen some of the insane throws he's making. I've seen him throw side-armed, looking the other way, very Pat Mahomes like, and looked at ease at it. You add on to that how hard he's working with other players on the team, learning the playbook. I don't know if you heard the story of how he was with Keenan Allen and they were using each other on the playbook. And
It's all stuff you love to see.
Yeah, it just I I've never believed I've believed in Bears rookie quarterbacks before. I've put the meatball sauce on all over me and slathered it everywhere. This time just feels different.
And you know what? Admittedly, you and I talked about a few months ago when we were still in season for last season. We didn't really know about Caleb Williams. We kind of we have some reservations. And I didn't buy as much into the personality stuff, but just, it's like, hey, Justin Fields has these problems. Caleb Williams has these problems. The rookie against, the record against X number of teams. We said this stuff. I'll own up to it. I'll be the first one to own up to it. But so far from what I'm seeing, there's just so much that I really like, and I'm glad that a lot of what the narratives were going around are just being proven wrong and wrong day after day. Makes me feel better because it's easy to start a rumor or a narrative and have it kind of be presented as fact when it's really not. So, Caleb Williams got his extension and doesn't have an ownership stake in the team like it was reported. So, it just kind of goes to show. So you hope that he keeps building on this, learning on this. So I also want to just really really laugh at Caleb Williams' Snapchat story. Not Snapchat, Instagram, sorry. It's TJ Moore extension breaking news. And Caleb Williams says, every dinner on bro now, say less, laughing emoji. That's hilarious.
I love it. I love it. And I believe in him so much that I'm not going to buy a Caleb Williams jersey.
Neither am I. I'm not risking it.
Nope,
I am not risking it.
I'm not doing it. The closest I've come to getting anything from any new Bear is I got a jersey of DeAndre Swift, and that is just because his last name is Swift and it says Bears.
Yeah. There you go.
And I'm a Swiftie, so just wanted a Swift Bears.
And what's going to happen is week 1. I won't say it. I won't say it. I don't want to put any negativity into the ether right now. Did you see the Hard Knocks trailer?
I did. I'm very excited about it. I'm getting in the groove of things. I started last night. I started watching episode 1 of the Giants Hard Knocks to kind of get into it, and I'm eager for the Bears to start on this.
Oh, and the other night too. Oh, what was I watching? Might have been watching the stupid loser baseball team I root for, but either way, I was watching TV and they had Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Oh yeah,
commercial.
that opens this week.
Oh, isn't that funny? Harold and the Purple Crayon opens pretty much right when Hard Knocks is coming around.
That's funny. I saw that trailer and I started laughing so hard just picturing George McCaskey in it.
Hey guys, Purple Crayon. But hey, you know what? Maybe on Hard Knocks, they will capture a scene in the office of George McCaskey, and there he is with his purple crayon, coloring Grimace eating grapes.
So, the Hard Knocks Bears season debuts next Tuesday, August 6th at 8 p.m.
I'm ready for it.
I am ready for it too. and I'm excited to see who's going to be the breakout star of the show. I'm excited to see players and like things I care about. I've watched Hard Knocks before, and some of them I finished, some of them I haven't. I've lost interest. Like I don't care, um, but I have a vested interest in this one, so it's going
For
to be exciting.
obvious reasons, yes.
Obvious reasons, and I've got a 55-gallon drum of uh, marinara sauce to
Oh
just
no.
bathe in while I watch it.
You're gonna be in one of those old-timey tubs, just sit up in the middle of your living room.
I'm gonna have a hookah with marinara sauce.
Oh dear God. Oh man. I was just gonna eat my marinara sauce on some spaghetti. Just gonna have a nice Caesar salad and some garlic bread on the side.
I'm gonna have a monocle and I'm gonna have my pinky out and I'm gonna be sitting in my marinara being a meatball,
You're
but
gonna
a
just
classy meatball.
you're just gonna look like the biggest douchewad in the world, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be absolutely great. Also, I feel like we need to be drinking I'm gonna say red Kool-Aid out of a brandy glass.
Well, what's funny is a friend of mine who listens to the show is he gave me a Bears like one of those like insulated coffee mugs, and inside he put a packet of Kool-Aid.
Oh, that's funny.
And like a fine wine, I've been saving that packet of Kool-Aid and used the mug, but I've saved the packet of Kool-Aid. And I think I know the exact moment to have it. Is Tuesday at 8 p.m.
There you go. And you know what? I think I have some Kool-Aid too, because I actually do like drinking it in the summer. And I'll buy, when summer comes along, I'll buy maybe 3 packets of it. I'll buy a purple, I'll buy a green, I'll buy a red, and then sometimes I'll buy a blue or an orange. Or I might have pink lemonade, but either way, whatever one I have, I might be making that myself. So you and I could both be doing that. I do somewhere we have a like a brandy, like the whatever you would call them, like
Is that
the
called a snifter?
yeah, whatever that is. It's a fancy jug kind of pardon my ignorance on what you call it, but you know, I'll just
Called a
I'll
snifter.
a snifter. Okay. So I'm
I
going to
believe that's what
have
it's called.
that and I'm going to be sitting down and an English gentleman's going to come out of nowhere. Oh, I see you have some nice brandies.
In,
How old is it? Oh, this is Kool-Aid.
indubitably.
Ew. This is Kool-Aid. I'm watching the Bears.
Clink, clink, clink. Uh,
Classy, as you can see.
so I want to do a hard shift here. Have you seen Wolverine and Deadpool yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God, was that good? And
So funny. So
and
funny.
and I'm sitting here right now with both of my Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn tubs. So I've got the one that's Headpool, and I've got the one that is supposed to be the ripoff of the Dune 2 popcorn bucket, where it's got Wolverine's mouth that you stick the hand through his mouth to get the popcorn. And I was at Comic-Con last week when they came out. So I called my wife and I said, "How much do you love me?" And she goes, "Uh-oh, what are you about to ask me?" And I'm like, when AMC down the street opens on Thursday, can you be there? First person there and buy these stupid popcorn buckets. She's like, "Fine." And she came through with flying colors. So
Awesome.
I've got both of those. And I'm going to re-see the movie again tomorrow. And hopefully I can score the baby pool popcorn bucket.
Yeah, you got to have the full collection.
You got to have the full collection of these things. I'm eating out of a skull head with a Deadpool mask and one of those old timey when the when the Bears used to play in the Super Bowl every year, or I'm sorry, in the championship game pre Super Bowl, leather helmets with a twirly top.
Oh my God.
So good.
Love it.
Ugh. All right. So today was the deadline for the MLB trade.
Yep.
And the Cubs made some moves, and the
They
White Sox
did.
made a lot of moves. I would like to talk about the White Sox first, if you're okay with that, because I'm extraordinarily annoyed by one of the trades. Would you like to guess which one?
Is it the Morel trade?
No, I'm saying the White Sox.
Oh, the White Sox. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I know exactly. The Eric Fetty one.
Yes. Do you know why I'm annoyed?
Because the Cardinals got Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham for basically nothing. They traded away Tommy Edman, who's been hurt all year, and they didn't even have to give up any prospects.
I'm also mad because one of the prospects that was one of the best prospects that the White Sox got in this trade um, has a stress fracture that he was injured on Friday before the trade, and he has a stress fracture in his left tibia and is out for the season. So they traded for a guy that's not playing for the rest of the season and is hurt. Like, how White Sox is that?
Yeah, I really thought that that was a light return for what it was, considering that in this trade you gave away Fetty and Pham and Kopech because that was a three-team trade, and you gave Kopech to the Dodgers. You got three guys back from the Dodgers, none from the Cardinals.
Yep. That
Now,
was all
Miguel
in.
Vargas was a top prospect, and there's still some promise in there. He's still got to find his footing in the major league level. The other two are just wild cards, but I really thought you could have gotten more there.
Miguel Vargas at one point was the number 3 prospect in baseball. I'm sorry,
Oh,
number 3 prospect in the Dodger system, number 29 in baseball.
which is still really damn good,
It's
considering the
really good.
Dodgers are always among the top in
And
prospect
he
pools.
has major league experience, not a ton, but he has major league experience. But his slash line in the majors is 239, 313, 423. I really have a strong suspicion that he's a quadruple A player.
I'll give him a chance. We'll see. I think if anything, he might be a decent MLB player, but am I counting on him to be a perennial all-star? No, not necessarily. With the other prospects, who the hell knows? I think that in terms of what they traded away, the frickin' Cardinals got themselves a really nice starter. Tommy Pham is that versatile bench bat and is like everybody kind of just waiting for the Dodgers to fix Kopech. Like
Watch,
that's what we're
yeah,
expecting, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but I mean, Jarrell Perez was the number 17 player in the Dodgers system. He played in the futures game. He's 19 years old, played at the A level, uh, and had an 800 OPS with 10 home runs in 75 games. So I, I, the, he is somebody they're like, okay, I could, I don't think that's a terrible return there. I'm hoping that Miguel Vargas is a change of scenery guy, and the fact that he's not really blocked, he can play. He's got playing time.
Yeah.
And maybe just the playing time is going to be helpful to him to improve.
Yeah, for sure. And now that Paul DeYoung's been shipped out, obviously there's going to be plenty of time for him to play. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. I just think the Sox could have gotten a bit more, and I think the Cardinals should have been forced to give up more, but
That was annoying.
yeah,
Um,
very.
Paul, why do the Cardinals? Why is everyone willing to trade people for nothing to the Cardinals? Drives
Look
me
at
crazy.
look at the Cardinals, look at the Brewers. They got freaking William Contreras for essentially nothing. It's very irritating.
Um, yeah, the White Sox traded Paul DeYoung to the Royals and got right-handed pitcher Gerald uh, Rosado, who's 22 years old. He's not in the top 30 in the Royals farm system, but he's got a 185 ERA with a little over 10 strikeouts per nine playing A ball.
Yeah, maybe you get yourself a reliever down the road. I mean, Paul DeYoung had some nice power numbers. I think he had like what, 18 homers?
Some 16, 17, 18, something around there.
So like you trade away a nice veteran power bat. He wasn't a stellar defender like he once was, doesn't really get on base at a great clip, but I think that's a pretty standard return for a guy like that.
Yeah, you got essentially a lottery ticket.
Yep.
And then Tanner Banks was traded to the Phillies for 19-year-old William Bergallo, who was the number or he was a number 11 in the Phillies farm system, played high A this year with a 735 OPS, a 295 average. Seems like he's going to be a on-base guy rather than a power guy. But for Tanner Banks, I think that's a pretty good return.
Yeah, again, it's just another lottery ticket, but that's what you get with these.
Then, surprisingly, Eloy Jimenez was shipped out.
That was a shock.
Not surprising that they wanted to trade him. Surprised that somebody took him.
And the Orioles of all teams, like they have so many other options internally and externally they could have gone with, and you got the guy that can't stay healthy and can barely move. I was very surprised. And that trade, it sounded like it was made. Those Sox wanted to just basically get him out of there.
Yeah, they're paying a portion of his. They're paying a portion of his salary. I think they're getting a low-level prospect back, but I don't even know who it is.
I think a pitcher or something.
It's basically a salary dump.
Right.
And for the Orioles, I think they're looking for more production out of the designated hitter spot. They'll probably put him in whenever Adley Rutschman is not in the DH spot. So they've already got a good offense. Just putting him in there just gives the possibility of some power.
So the infamous trade, the Quintana for Eloy and Cease trade, is all but done in Chicago. Dylan Cease is in San Diego, where he just threw a no-hitter. Congrats to him. Eloy is now in Baltimore.
I was in San Diego watching that happen live.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was pretty exciting.
Yeah. And then Jose Quintana, who hasn't been on the Cubs in years, is with New York, I believe. So, the Sox still probably technically won that trade in terms of value, but the Cubs did not go on that run like they were supposed to after they won the World Series. And the White Sox didn't have that massive window where Eloy was going to be hitting 40 homers and Cease was going to be winning Cy Young after Cy Young in Chicago either. So I think all in all, an incredibly disappointing output from that trade on both sides of town. I mean, Cease is far and away the best asset that came from that trade. I mean, he's legitimately great when he's on, and Eloy was a massive bust, truly a massive bust for the White Sox. And did you hear the NBC Sports Chicago? Did you hear that clip from their live trade analysis show?
No.
So I don't know who it was talking in the middle. I was it Ryan McGuffey? I don't know who that was, but he was talking with Gordon Beckham and Chuck, and he's like, "Good riddance. I'm glad this loser's out of here." Like, very harsh words for Eloy Jimenez. And I mean, listen, the body didn't allow him to play, but I also didn't always really see a motivated player. And Can't help but wonder if there were some issues with him in the clubhouse because I think that a lot of people questioned his work ethic and leadership. I don't really know for sure. I can't say, but um, I don't know. Just didn't really seem like a winning player to me, which is a shame because the talent was off the charts with him. I mean, you remember how when he was young and he would just effortlessly flick at the ball and would go 500 feet.
Yeah.
It's just too bad that all that talent didn't turn out. And can a new environment help Eloy? Sure. Is the body going to allow it? It's really hard for me to say that it will.
Um, so the guy who's been playing a lot of the DH at bats for the Orioles is Ryan O'Hearn, um, who this season is got an 812 OPS and has 12 home runs already. So
Which is better than Eloy.
a lot better than Eloy. So I'm a little surprised by what their expectation is.
I am too. I am
Um,
too.
unless they're planning to put Ryan O'Hearn in the outfield because uh, the Orioles did trade one of their outfielders to the Phillies for a pitcher.
That could be. That could be.
Um,
I think he had other internal options, but maybe they saw something they could either fix or think, or they're just taking a chance.
well, their GM did say that he thought a change of scenery would be helpful.
Well,
And
it's a risk, but
well,
okay.
I don't know if it is because I mean, I guess if it's a bad locker room situation, but as far as financially, like they're gonna buy him out at the end of the year. I think it's like a $3 million buyout. They're gonna buy him out, and they've got tons of money. Like they're a low payroll team because all of their good players are young and cheap. So they've got new ownership that's willing to spend some money. So it's not really a big deal. They're just you know, for them, it's just a few $1 million for this one season. And if he does come through and just becomes the Eloy Jimenez that the White Sox thought they were getting when they traded with the Cubs, then yeah, you could keep him and then buy him out after next year. It's not that huge of a contract year by
No,
year.
it's not. We'll see how it works out.
So I don't think it will work out. I'm expecting them to buy him out and then him be a free agent at the end in the off season. Um, so yeah, the White Sox stink and they're about to get worse.
They're on a 15-game losing streak. The Garrett Crochet thing seemed to ruffle feathers in the front office with Chris Getz. You heard that interview, right?
Yeah,
That whole thing is just, he didn't get traded. Robert didn't get traded, which I'm kind of not surprised. His value isn't the best right now, but Crochet is staying, and we'll kind of see how that turns out. But at least with Crochet, he can kind of ramp down the way he wants to here if there's any bright side there. And maybe he does get an extension later. I don't know, or maybe he gets traded this offseason. We'll see.
I have a feeling they're going to trade him in the offseason when they can reset the market and he's got the whole year of pitching well. Um, I'm just I'm I heard so much smoke from the Yankees and Garrett Crochet that I was shocked that there wasn't a fire. And maybe there was smoldering something and just fell through at the end. I don't know, wasn't involved in it, but I've heard a lot of reports about the Yankees being in on Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, yeah, there was them, the Dodgers, and then I think the Dodgers obviously they went after Jack Flaherty. So
Yeah, just imagine if the White Sox would have held on to Dylan Cease and sold high on him.
yeah, I mean, I still think there's hope for Drew Thorpe. I know he didn't have a good start against the Mariners, but I still think you have something there potentially.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that if you would have sold on, I don't know. I
Oh, you
just
could have really gotten a haul now, yes.
yes. Um. So the last thing I had with the White Sox is the rumors about their next head coach. Or sorry, head coach, their manager. Did you hear the rumors that might be AJ Przinsky?
Yeah, I heard that. And I know he kind of denied it. And
of course he's going to deny it because you don't want to. You've got a guy that's in there right now.
Right.
Is AJ Przinsky can be a total asshole, but I think he knows that that's one of those faux pas is talking about taking somebody's job that has the job. That's a tough one.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I don't even know if they're actually serious, but when that's put out in the ether, I don't think that's clearly just speculation or some rumor. There's clearly some conversations that had been had or are being had. I don't really know. But the thing with AJ being a manager is, in my opinion, he could be a good manager, but is the White Sox are doing it again. Let's fall back to the circle, within our circle. Let's not look outside because it's probably them saying, oh, well, we went outside with Pedro Grifol and that didn't look who, by the way, that's a whole other issue. And he's going to be here the rest of the year as this team continues to chase the record for worst team in history. But, you know, you're going to be falling in that trap again if you're really considering this. And again, maybe it does pay off, but they just keep doing it. They keep doing the same thing of not wanting to go outside the organization, keep it within the family. Do you remember what they had to do to convince Robin Ventura, who didn't even want the job?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I can say about AJ Przinsky is he's not a yes man. He loves the White Sox, but even when he was the White Sox ambassador, he was an employee of the team. He went on whatever podcast that would take him and was like, I'm buddies with Chris Getz. That was a terrible hire. What were they doing? Like, he doesn't care. And so I feel like he's not a yes man. And that bodes well for the organization and not, do I think it's the right one? No, I mean, go get like Terry Francona. Like, you can get a real manager. Like, I'm not saying I'm not saying AJ can't be one, but he probably has an arc like David Ross,
Could be.
where at best he's a mid player manager with that's got a you know he's a stern dad. Like that, maybe that's what the White Sox need. I don't know, but I think you could do worse.
Listen, anything's an upgrade from Pedro Grifol at this point.
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna put it this way: Pedro Grifol is not going to be the White Sox manager next year, right?
No, zero chance. Zero chance.
Okay. If I told you that you had to spend your next paycheck at your job on a bet, you had to. There's no other choice. And the options on the bet were you either take Ozzie Guillen and AJ Przinsky as your next manager or anybody else on earth. Which one are you going to put your money on?
Probably AJ or Ozzie.
That's my point is I just think that they have those two coaches have those two guys. I'm not gonna call both of them coaches because one's only, but those two guys have too much White Sox smoke, and we've all figured out who Jerry is. And Jerry is the puppeteer of this team. Chris Getz has Jerry's left arm up his butthole, being used as a puppet. So the Ozzie or AJ seems such the likely candidates that I would do the same. If I had to put money down, I would take those two guys and leave the field for everybody else. I would feel so much safer. And doesn't mean it's going to be true. It just, if I had to put money down, that's where I'd feel more comfortable with my money.
Sure. Speaking of Pedro Grifol, Did you hear the report from today?
No.
So, this was according to 670 The Score. It was on the Parkins and Spiegel show. And basically, there was a report that around the All-Star break, Pedro Grifol tried to motivate the White Sox by saying, if this goes down as one of the worst seasons ever, it's obviously on no one but the players. And okay, like everybody has an issue with that. I'm just reading the tweet here, but also the motivation was uh, if you're the worst team in baseball, everyone's going to remember you. And I kind of get what he's saying, but I don't think you deliver it like that. And apparently, some veterans were really not pleased about that. Um, and that's where kind of it's on the players thing, but um, it's on everybody. The team's not good. Pedro isn't going to a better manager isn't going to make this team good, but he's got to share some of that brunt too. And clearly, the messages that he's sending in the clubhouse are not resonating. And presenting, hey, if you're the worst, everyone's going to remember you. I don't think they really appreciated that very much.
I'm just going to say that Pedro Grifol is no Lou Brown. That's not how Lou Brown would have managed a bad team.
He's not Lou Brown, nor is he the manager from Bull Durham, the lollygag speech.
Yeah. Pedro Grifol, I've heard Danny Parkins say, because he knew people that knew him from the Kansas City days, that he's a brown noser and he does whatever to uh, win favor and keep his spot where he is, and that's annoying, and that's not what this team needs. And you have the worst manager in baseball. You have a team that has no talent and a lot of injuries. You promoted somebody that was in the front office that was bad at his existing job, promoted him. He was bad at his job and in the front office of that put together that what might be the worst team ever assembled. And you promoted him. He failed upward.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just, this is a disaster.
Reinsdorf, what did Reinsdorf say last year? We owe it to our fans to get better as soon as possible. We don't want to go outside the organization because it would take a year to evaluate. Well, guess what? You are bottoming out further than like any other team has bottomed out before.
Yeah, it's insane. Insane how quickly this fell. I mean, just a couple years ago, sure, they overachieved, but they were in the playoffs, and this is where they became.
It's insane.
Here's the exact quote from Jerry Reinsdorf. The conclusion I came to is we owe our fans and ourselves not to waste any time.
Mm-hmm. Say that again in your voice.
The conclusion I came to is we owe our fans and ourselves not to waste any time. We want to get better as fast as we possibly can. If I went outside, it would have taken anybody at least a year to evaluate the organization. I could have had Branch Rickey come back. It would have taken him a year to evaluate the organization.
The fact that in that speech he was referencing Branch Rickey, who's been dead for like what, 70 years?
I forgot that he mentioned Branch Rickey.
And then he went on the whole David Eckstein crap.
He mentioned Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey died in 1965 at the age of 83.
Oh, 83.
Oh my God. Uh,
Good
He
gravy.
he last managed in 1955. 1955.
Insane.
So it was the time when he last was a general manager in professional sports to the time that Jerry dropped that nugget was almost 70 years. And he's probably because that's the only front he was like, shit, who is a front office person I can think of? All right, the young whippersnappers will know Branch Rickey.
They saw that movie with Black Panther in it 10 whatever years ago it was. Harrison Ford, good old Han Solo, he'll know that.
I'm looking at a picture of Branch Rickey, and uh, I would not, if you gave me a lineup of two people, I would not have been able to pick out which one was Branch Rickey.
When I think of Branch Rickey, I literally think of him when he was played by Harrison Ford in 42.
If you put a picture of FDR next to Branch Rickey, I probably couldn't pick them apart. I don't know. Well, he kind of looks. This one looks like he could be an FDR. Oh my God. He he was a general manager from 1913 to 1955. So, you dropped Branch Rickey.
And
Just how much more out of touch could you be?
he doesn't care.
Doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Straight up doesn't care.
Nope. As long as those keep coming, he's still making that money for him and his co-owners.
Yep.
Uh, so I guess we could talk about the Cubs here.
Yeah.
Cubs made two moves. Um, the more important one is they traded Christopher Morel, Hunter Biggie, and Ty Johnson for uh, Isaac Paredes. Who I don't know how to feel about this one. I mean, Christopher Morel was just a big bag of potential and hasn't amounted to anything and was a terrible third baseman.
He's exciting, electric. The power is incredible. He's a great guy. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think the Rays are going to get the most out of that potential. I think he can become really legit with the Rays. With the Cubs this year, he was really struggling, batting under 100, OPS well over 700. But I do think the Rays will be able to help that and bring him to where his potential is. Isaac Paredes, I like Isaac Paredes. He's a better contact hitter. He was like a near 5-win player last year. He's at a WRC plus of 130 and over the past few years with the Rays. Is that a product of the Rays? Is that how good he is? We'll see. This is a risky trade, but I kind of like taking the risk. I know today Morel homered in his second at bat as a Ray, and Paredes had a few BABIP luck lineouts, but one game we'll see. I don't really know how this is going to work out. I like taking the chance. I know a lot of people are upset Morel is gone, and I understand that, but you know, the numbers for Paredes over the last few years are really good. He's got a lot of control. I don't think he's going to have as good a power as we'd hoped, but he's a better defender, that's for sure.
Yeah, Christopher Morel's slash line with the Cubs this year was 199 batting average, 302 on base, 373 slugging, 675 OPS with an OPS plus of 89. That's not good. That's just not good enough. And he was a terrible fielder.
And we know he hit a lot of balls hard for outs. He had some tough luck. We know, but it's eventually you got to get the results to come around. And
And he was a .1 B war. is Isaac is a 2.5 B WAR, and his stats this year with Tampa are 245, 357, 435 for a 792 OPS and a 127 OPS plus. And he's the last 3 years he's been pretty consistent. OPS 740, 792, OPS plus 113, 132, 127. And he was an all-star this year. And you've got several years of team control still on his contract. He's a significantly better fielder. I think it's the safer option.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Morel, you're right, is much more exciting. And but we've learned Javi Baez was an exciting player, and we shipped him out. And there was a lot of people upset that we shipped out Javi Baez. I still see a lot of Javi Baez jerseys out there. But that excitement, just ask Tigers fans, did they like the excitement? No, they're
It
not
hasn't been
happy
very
about that.
good there, no.
I worry that Christopher Morel is going to be that same guy. He's got power, he's got excitement. It's just if the production isn't on the field at a certain point, even if it's BABIP luck or hard outs, whatever the case is, at some point that production has to be there, because at the end of the day, a hard out and a soft liner out are the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, Jed Hoyer said he was going to make moves for beyond just 2024, and this is what you get. You know, Isaac Paredes is under control for the next few years. So you're getting a cost controlled player. You know, Morel was too, but you know, cost control player for a cost control player. So we'll see how it works out, because this
It's
was the big Cubs move.
here's another thing to consider. Christopher Morel is terrible at third baseman. So you're going to have to play him at DH a lot, right? If you Paredes is going to be a much better third baseman, you can play him at third base. That opens up your DH spot for Suzuki to play DH. And you can start pulling in some of those minor league players in that outfield and let them get a little more playing time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can kind of prioritize things now. I like Seiya DHing more. You have your noted third baseman now playing third base regularly. So, you know, it maybe that comes of something.
So the other trade that the Cubs made was they moved Mark Leiter Jr. to the Yankees for two 24-year-old prospects, Ben Cowles and Jack Neely.
Another one who's hurt. Theme in Chicago.
Ben Cowles in Double-A this year, 295, 9 home runs, 848 OPS in 88 games. Neely with a 281 ERA. This was between Double-A and Triple-A this year. 281 ERA, but almost 14 Ks per 9, which is a little intriguing.
Yeah, you know, I was a big Mark Leiter Jr. fan, but you know, trading away a 30-plus-year-old pitcher in a season you're not going anywhere for an intriguing upside younger arm, I think that's a fair return for the Cubs. I know the one guy is injured, but in terms of value and players you're getting back, I think that's a perfectly reasonable return for a good reliever who is more of a splits guy and really relied on having his grip in place because when that splitter was working, it was virtually unhittable. But if that wasn't working just so, then it was very likely he was going to get hit pretty hard. So I think that's a very reasonable return.
Yeah. So Mark Leiter Jr. is 33 years old. And when's he turn 34? Da, 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 da. He's like 33 and a half. So he'll be, I mean, clearly 34 when the next season starts. Um, he's got a shelf life in him. And so to get two 24-year-olds, do they do they pan out? I don't know. But it's you're trying to reset here. It's kind of like it's the kind of the philosophy that the Red Sox have had is you compete a year, you you have an off year, reset, compete, and you stay relevant that way. And until the Cubs find out who their of their farm system are legit and who are not, and uh, you move on from some of these bad contracts and bring in some good ones. That this is probably the best you're going to do.
Yeah, so many people were livid online today about the trade deadline. I was just kind of just, I don't feel anything anymore. They're just so dead to me right now. And every time they show an ounce of looking competent, then they lose 3 games where they just look absolutely lifeless and terrible.
Yep.
I just, I'm sick of it. So done.
Yeah, I've lost any hope for this season. And honestly, I don't know what they're going to do in the off season to get that much better. They've got pitching. That's just how are they going to fix this offense?
I don't think Juan Soto is coming through that door.
No, no, he's not. Even if he goes to the free agent market, I don't think they're going to pony up. I think they should. I think that would put some life into it. But I don't think that's happening. Another thing that didn't make sense to me is there were a lot of reports that Jamison Tyone was on the trade block.
Mm-hmm.
So the day before the trade deadline, you started him.
I really wonder if they just didn't get what they were looking for.
Even so, why wouldn't you just postpone his start one day?
I agree. I agree. I
Because
agree.
the Cubs, I don't, you could have pitched him today and known whether or not you were going to move him. And one day moving his start, uh, you know, yesterday, the market could have completely changed for him today. But if you pitched him yesterday and he gets hurt or he gets lit up, uh, that significantly hurts any chance that you had of making a deal that next day. So the market must have just been absolutely not what they wanted, or they weren't really looking to trade him, which I find a little bit hard.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Tyone is he's been overall incredibly effective, but you wonder if the peripherals just didn't really align with what teams were looking for, especially because it's not like he'd be a rental. He is under control, which is valuable normally, but maybe they look at the money he's making in the peripherals like, do we really want to go after that? If he was like a much higher strikeout, not put the ball in play as much type pitcher, then I think that's different because it really was a seller's market this year. And you saw some of the deals that some of these teams got for like, wow, they got that for that guy. But yeah, maybe it just didn't align with what other teams were willing to give up and what the Cubs were looking for. So it is what it is.
Yeah, because you would this wouldn't be a rental. You get the remainder of this season and then the next 2 seasons at 18 million per. So that's not an insignificant investment.
No, it's not.
And if you look at the Cubs, that they could have, they're a high spending team, but not a high spending team. And
You're
they're,
not the Dodgers.
yeah, you don't have that unlimited payroll. That $18 million could have gone elsewhere. Um, you know, like right now you're paying $27.5 million to Cody Bellinger, 26 to Swanson, 21.5, 21 to Suzuki, and for very little production. You're going to get 16.5 off the books for Kyle Hendricks next year. And I believe 10.5 from Drew Smiley. But you need to get more out of those high payroll players.
Yeah, Dansby Swanson, especially.
It's
Your
Cody
highest
Bellinger.
guy.
Cody Bellinger. Give me more, Cody.
Yeah.
Ian Happ, all right, he's playing well, but give me more, Seiya Suzuki.
Maybe a little more pop. I mean, he's overall been fine, but yeah, oh my God. Tommy Pham hit a grand slam with the Cardinals.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
God. I hate baseball. I hate baseball.
Huh. But if you look at Seiya Suzuki, um, his on base is 339. His OPS is 818, which is fine. But he's got 15 home runs. I think we were expecting more. It's not terrible, but I think we were expecting more.
Yeah, and I mean it's probably not helping that he had a lat injury, but you know, your point still stands.
And a better fielder.
Well, if he has more time at DH, then maybe that won't be as big of a deal. But just pointing that out there. But you're absolutely you're not wrong.
So yeah, baseball's terrible, and I hate it. I don't like it here. I,
I hate this sport so much.
I miss winning. Just want to see my teams win. The Bulls are garbage. I think they'll be more fun garbage, especially if they can figure out how to get rid of Vooch. I think they'll at least be fast-paced garbage, but they're going to be garbage. The Blackhawks, I think, are going to be significantly better, but they were so bad that significantly better just puts them at not good. So it's all my eggs are in a Bears basket, which is the worst place to put them because that team is the kings of breaking my heart.
I know. I know. I know.
It's putting your hopes in the Chicago Bears all in that basket is like giving Fuller a Pepsi and hoping he doesn't pee the bed.
Easy on the fluids, kid.
Oh, Fuller and his Pepsi. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I think I've said my piece.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts. Whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, etc., Spotify, all the aggregators. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her, you can have her, she's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like... Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears!
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna...